Egress. In other words, fire codes. Let's break it down.
Desert King Windows, we knock out the weather.
As you're starting your window journey, you probably have heard of egress. What does egress mean? What is it? Basically, fire codes for escapability out of sleeping areas, bedrooms, and stuff like that. What meets egress? What needs to be egress? And what exceptions are there to egress? That's what we're going to go over here. First off, what is egress? It's actually written for the fireman with his tank on to be able to get into your house. So that's why they would require a certain size window to be able to get into. Bedrooms, if there's a room that a door can be shut, so you do have to think about egress for that. So when we're swapping out windows, a lot of times customers will want maybe picture windows in their master bedroom because they have a nice view or something like that. And we can't necessarily always accommodate that. And here's why. If a sleeping room has to have egress, basically you have to be able to go out that egress window to the exterior of the house. It can't be a door that leads into a hallway or a door that leads into another room. It has to go to the exterior. This also means if you have a screened-in patio or if you're closing in a patio, you have to make sure that there's an egress window going to the exterior and not into the patio. So there's a lot of little things to worry about here. You definitely want to make sure that you're ahead of the game on this, because that would be a bummer if you go to sell the house and something doesn't meet fire code and you have to have it changed. But don't worry, with Desert King Windows, we make sure we double check all of this stuff for you. But here's what we're looking for. So first off, how big of an opening does it have to be? It has to have an opening space of 5.7 square feet. In other words, 820 square inches. That's what we're going to look at here. There's also going to be minimum widths and heights, okay? The minimum width has to be at least 20 inches. The minimum height has to be at least 24 inches. You do have to worry about the 5.7 square feet. That is the most important part. So a window like this, we do have this opening meeting the minimums, right? So right here, we're at 26.5 inches wide. Here, we're at 26 inches tall. So that meets it, right? But if you do the math on that, that's only 700 or so square inches. It needs to be 820. So even though this meets the width and the height minimums, it doesn't meet the full egress opening size. So this would not meet egress. So that's important to know, because let's say we're in a bedroom. Customer wants to go with a picture window right here. Well, there is an opening space here, and it looks like it's big enough for us to fit in and out of, but it doesn't meet fire code. It doesn't meet egress. And this is a non-debate. If it doesn't meet egress, we're not going to do it. That's very, very important to know. It's not even a question about it. It has to meet egress, has to meet fire codes. So let's look at this one right here. This window is roughly 48 inches wide, 60 inches tall. We got the width, okay? That can go all the way up to 20 inches wide. And then the height, obviously, plenty of space, right? So that's an egress window. What if there's a door in the room? That's a good question. Let's say we're in the master bedroom, and this door right here goes to the backyard. And you literally open up this door and you are outside. Well, because this door is in that bedroom, this is your egress opening. These can then be picture windows because you have your egress right here. So the other part to egress is the sill height. This is going to be a little different here. This height has to be within 44 inches of the ground. That is right here. So obviously this meets egress, because as long as it's within 44 inches of the ground, that is an acceptable egress window. There are times where windows in a bedroom will be higher. Maybe a block home that we see in the Phoenix area. It's built in the 60s or the 70s before egress was really a thing. Those have a different rule. So let's say we have one that's a lot higher. It is not 44 inches from the ground. Can we still replace that window? Absolutely we can. We do not have to cut it down. We do not have to do that because of the grandfather rule. It's been grandfathered in. We can still replace that window. We just have to make it opening as much as possible for that to be considered egress. That is one exception. A couple of other considerations. Basements. All right, basements, you do have to consider egress if it's habitable. Now, if it's just a storage area, it's not a problem. But if it's a finished basement, egress does matter. Instead of 5.7 square feet, you need 5.0 square feet of opening space, and you need to be able to be an escape hatch. So I'm sure we've all seen some of those some of those basements where they have the well and the little ladder that goes out. That is why. That's for fire codes. That's egress. Another thing that you have to consider are the locks. Locks have to be normal. They have to be basic. Their common knowledge is what it states has to be able to operate the lock. So that's the majority of the locks that we have. If you basically just means you can't have some voice activated, automatic, some sort of thing like that, or a key or something like that, you can't have those. For the egress window at least. Outside of that, you can do what you want. So everything I just covered is from the IRC, the International Residential Code. Those are the codes that I just went over. There are local codes. There can be local municipality codes that you do have to look into. Ask your sales guy, are there any extra codes? Now, if they don't know, red flag. But they should know. And that's one of the ways you know you're dealing with a company that is reputable. Hope you learned a lot. Hope this cleared some things up. And have a great day. Choosing new windows can be overwhelming. There's tons of information out there, and AI might miss the mark. But our free window buyer's guide, backed by 25 years of experience, makes it simple. No overcomplicated jargon, just facts to help you decide with confidence. And don't forget to get 3 bids. And if you're in one of our areas, make sure Desert King Windows is on your list. You'll be glad you did.
We use the best windows, cause nothing works better. Desert King Windows, we knock out the weather.